When this loser opens his eyes in the middle of the night, he finds an evil witch sitting on top of him, grinning mischievously and asking him if her sacred services woke him up.
なんだここ夢かな大役じゃないかまさか
This is the story of an ugly, lifeless game developer who ends up getting stuck inside his own game. It all begins on a Sunday morning when Suzuki takes the train to his workplace, complaining about having to work even on weekends to finish coding the game design left behind by a former colleague who quit. Regardless, he fixes the issues in the source code, and as he is about to start patching up the bugs, his McDonald's supervisor arrives, asking him to reduce the difficulty of another game the company is working on. Suzuki doesn't want to do it initially because it would ruin the in-game experience for their target audience, but since it's a direct order from the client, he comes up with a plan to make both sides happy. The plan is to add 3 bombs and a map in the starter pack for rookies, while also placing a rare achievement for clearing the area without using items so that skilled players can enjoy the game as well. His colleague approves the idea and calls the client to confirm it as he walks away. Suzuki takes a break and goes out to have lunch in a nearby park, where he notices a child in the distance who looks lost. He approaches the child to help her, but the mother arrives, saving him from being labeled a kidnapper. Later that night, Suzuki resumes working on fixing the bugs in the MMORPG game, before moving on to the other game's features his supervisor requested. He enters the game Freedom Fantasy Life and works tirelessly all night to fix the bugs. I have to admit, Bro is leading a fairly lifeless life as a game developer. After 3 long days of working day and night at the office, Suzuki fixes all the game's bugs, but as he is about to submit his report to his superiors, a colleague informs him of an item duplication bug in Warworld, telling him to fix it immediately. So, he works tirelessly once again, but he is happy to know he's not the only guy confined to the office space. There are many other developers like him there too. As soon as he patches up everything, he sends an email to his boss and goes to sleep, not knowing he's about to be sent to another world. Suzuki becomes confused as he finds himself standing on top of an abandoned, lifeless valley. It baffles him even more once he brings out his phone and discovers he's back in his teenage appearance. He assumes this is just a dream, revealing that he's been having similar dreams lately where he finds himself inside the worlds of his games Death March and Warworld. However, unlike before, he is now able to control the game interface with his mind. In the game world, he's called Satu because that's the name he always uses for his developer test characters. So we too will call him Satu from now on. Satu checks the map, learning he is on top of the Valley of Dragons. Suddenly, an enemy approaches beneath the crevices, and Satu sees he has 3 bombs in his inventory, recalling the changes he made earlier according to his supervisor's guidelines. The map detects an army of elite lizard men at level 50 approaching Satu's direction with the intention of eliminating him. Being only at level 1, Satu's only option is to use the 3 bombs, but unfortunately, none of them activate, indicating there's a bug in the system. As a game developer, Bro is literally having the worst nightmare possible. Conveniently enough, dozens of meteors start falling from the sky, crashing directly into all the lizard men and annihilating them, resulting in Satu gaining so much XP that he acquires the title Conqueror of the Valley of Dragons. After the dust settles, rain starts pouring, and when Satu wakes up, he sees there is still 1 lizard left alive, albeit heavily injured. Not knowing he is overpowered, Satu gives up on his life and accepts death. But the lizard man throws a sword at him, telling him to fight like a man. So Satu picks up the sword, hoping to land just 1 hit, as that is all it would take to defeat him. Being a game developer, he comes up with a unique strategy and throws the sword at the lizard like a frisbee, cutting it in half and destroying it. He wonders when he will wake up from this nightmare and tries to manually wake himself by literally logging out of this world. But neither the logout nor the save button responds to his request, so he decides to play along until the dream ends. He notices that the wounds left by the lizard men have completely healed, making him realize that his stats must have changed. So he opens the stats menu, learning that he is currently at level 310, and all of his ability points are maxed out. In terms of skills, Satu notices he has unlocked the Meteor Rain skill, so he tries it out in the far distance. Not realizing it will result in a near-nuclear explosion, he quickly escapes from the area, deciding never to use that skill again as he doesn't want to be labeled the Japanese Oppenheimer. After going through so much trouble, Satu becomes thirsty, so he opens his storage menu looking for water and finds an infinite water pouch along with tons of other items from the lizard men loot drops. He drinks from the pouch, then looks around the storage menu again, finding a pile of money and some pretty expensive gear as well. So he equips the holy gear to get a more local look and then levels up all his skills. He goes to sleep, which is pretty ironic because he's already asleep. But anyway, the next morning he decides to travel to the warrior's fort, and on his way he interacts with many mythical creatures in the forest. Another day passes and Satu reaches the destination, located on the outskirts of Siryu City. Everything seems peaceful, but a dragon casually shows up to ruin it for the protagonist. It hits Satu hard, but he doesn't take any damage as all of his stats are maxed out. Bro casually punches the dragon in the face, forcing it to flee. Unfortunately, the direction of Satu's punch leads the dragon to fly toward hundreds of stationed soldiers. Realizing his mistake, Satu heads over to fix the mess he's created, but the soldiers have already taken control of the situation by dealing with the dragon themselves. Well, until a girl named Xena Marientail gets herself yoinked away by the dragon, giving Satu the chance to become her savior. After rescuing Xena from falling to her death, Satu carries her back to safety. They introduce themselves to each other, and Xena states that she is a military mage of Count Seiryu, currently at level 13. She also does not forget to mention that she is a 17-year-old virgin, giving the pervy protagonist some good ideas. Xena's friends soon arrive to rescue her from this sudden stranger, demanding to know who Satu is. Satu claims to be a merchant and uses his skill in trickery and persuasion to convince the two knights that he got lost while on his journey and ended up here. Since it is a rule to help merchants, Xena's knight friends offer to escort Satu to Seiryu City. On the way there, Xena explains that she is a part of an investigation squad sent out to the forest to check the damage caused by the sudden meteor rain, or what they refer to as the starfall. They pass by a dragon corpse in the distance that has already been dealt with by the soldiers. The skin is being extracted by the soldiers to make armor and cloaks, and the meat is also being collected to feed it to the slaves in the West Town. Hearing that slaves exist in this world, Satu looks up the statistics of this city, learning that almost 20% of the people residing here are slaves. Among the many races living here, there is a single elf, and I'm betting it's a 400-year-old woman. Anyway, as they arrive at the city, Xena asks Satu if he plans on staying there, advising him to get a room at a hotel as that is the best option. She drops him off in the city and thanks him for saving her life before leaving to do her debriefing. According to Xena's knight friend Iona, Satu will need merchant license papers and takes him to a place to get them issued. Satu places his hands on a magic stone to register himself, and it shows the registrar Satu's outdated information, placing him at level 1. After handing him the paperwork, the registrar also gives Satu an entry visa to the city for 10 days, telling him to request an extension at the town hall if he wants to stay longer. The registrar also mentions that if he is caught with an expired visa, he will have to pay a fine of 3 silver coins or he will be forced to become a slave. I don't think Satu needs to worry about it since he is filthy rich. Now that there are no more complications, Satu goes to explore the town when suddenly a girl presses her chest against him, recognizing him as a visitor. She insists that he stays at her hotel, promising him that she will give him a great deal. Any normal person in this situation would ask this strange woman who she is, but not Satu. He instead checks her status and learns that she is Martha, a level 2 commoner who is also super underaged. So, of course, Satu lets her take him to her hotel. There they meet Martha's mom, a rather chubby woman who is the innkeeper, and Satu does not miss the chance to make a comment saying, "I'd totally let her do me if she were 40 pounds lighter." Satu negotiates his stay for the next 10 days and trades 2 silver coins for it. He asks Martha's mom if they have any food available, and she serves him her own prepared quiche. Martha's mom tells Martha to clean the rooms that were vacated by the cowardly merchants who feared that the starfall was caused by the demon lord. It was Satu who caused the starfall, but he acts oblivious for obvious reasons and asks Martha's mom about the demon lord of this world. According to her, there existed a demon lord 70 years ago, but the hero defeated him and brought peace to the world. Martha tells Satu not to worry about the demon lord because even if he revived, he would attack the Labyrinth City first, which is situated at the opposite end of the country. The people here worry more about dragons than the demon lord, since dragons reside in the Valley of Dragons near the city. After having his meal of quiche and cabbage, Satu heads out into the town with Martha. Bro becomes excited to see a demi-human, but that demi-human turns out to be a slave. And being a slave, you are meant to be treated poorly by others. Before too many people can bully the poor 2 beast girls, Satu steps up and acts as if he is their owner. He makes sure they are okay and gives them back their belongings, telling them to be more careful in the open streets from now on. After helping them, he sees a concerned Martha who wonders why this strange merchant is being kind towards the demi-humans. In this world, demi-humans are hated because over a century ago, demi-humans used to kill farmers and hunters on sight. When humans conquered their lands, they turned them into slaves. Anyway, Satu buys himself some clothes and also purchases a hair clip for Martha as a thank you for showing him around town. They come across a mask shop where masks and wigs are being sold. These gimmicks are worn by people during the Harvest Festival as part of a long-standing tradition. It is said that the dragon mask brings good health and a safe home, while a blonde wig is used to cosplay as the hero's friends. Unable to choose, Satu buys both a mask and a wig. As they are about to return to their inn, a carriage passes by carrying 7 slaves, and one catches Satu's eye. She is Arisa, whose title indicates she is an exiled witch and the crazy princess, meaning she is a significant figure. Satu proceeds to mind his own business and returns to the hotel, where Martha introduces him to her younger sister Uni, who also works at the inn as a caretaker. For dinner, Martha serves Satu a boar steak, vegetable soup, cheap wine, and water. Satu compliments the food, delighted to enjoy such fresh meat after many years. After filling his stomach, he goes to his hotel room, reflecting on how much he is enjoying this new life. He hopes that this dream never ends, but then realizes that dreams are never this long. He begins to suspect that this might not be a dream. But what exactly is it? It feels like a game, but he cannot log out or save progress. Lacking sufficient information to draw a conclusion, Satu goes to the outskirts of the city and focuses on enjoying this otherworldly adventure, because deep down, he knows his real life sucked. The next morning begins with Martha playfully waking Satu, teasing him that his girlfriend has arrived. Curious and a bit bewildered, Satu heads outside to see who it is and is pleasantly surprised to see Xena waiting for him with a cheerful smile. He is surprised to see that she is not wearing her formal outfit, and she explains that she is only in her casual clothing as she is not on duty today. The point is, Xena wants to give Satu a tour around the city. Satu, feeling lucky, thanks Xena for caring and agrees to go out with her on this unofficial date. Together, they stroll through the bustling streets, sampling every tasty snack they encounter. Satu pays for a meatless croquette called Seiryu patty before Xena can even react, and eats them together beside a fountain. They come across a stall specializing in fried bat wings coated with black miso. Although skeptical, Satu takes 2 for them, when suddenly a sprinting kid runs into Xena, and she accidentally splatters the miso sauce on her shirt. She's mortified because she borrowed this blouse from her mother and wonders if they will be able to put the stain out. Thankfully for them, a passing mage steps in and offers to remove the stain with a simple cleaning spell. The lady named Jimana claims that she can use everyday magic and takes them to a narrow alley to perform her magic. Using a spell called Soft Wash, the mage cleans Xena's blouse, but it becomes wet, resulting in a whoopsie moment between Xena and Satu. The mage quickly dries out Xena's clothes as well, and the duo thanks her for her help. Satu learns both magic spells just by watching, and perhaps he can learn all types of spells in this world, which would explain how he learnt the meteor rain spell. They continue their little adventure, and Satu, fascinated by the magic he has witnessed, can't help but ask Xena about how a person chants their spells. Xena explains that it's a long, grueling process, requiring years of chanting practice and study starting from a young age. Xena admits that her dream is to fly someday, soaring through the skies using magic. She then asks Satu why he wants to learn magic, and in reply, Satu tells her about his heartbreaking struggle of not being able to take a quality bath at his inn because there isn't one available. So if he gets his hands on everyday magic, his life would become much easier. She laughs as she has never heard something so ridiculous, and even starts to think that he is a buffoon. They continue walking through the market and go to a shop to purchase a skincare ointment as a gift for Martha's mom since she has been helping him out. Now that they have seen most of the places in the city, Xena asks Satu if there's any specific place he'd like to see next. After thinking a while, Satu comes up with an idea and takes Xena to the top of the city wall, where they take a moment to admire the refreshing breeze and the stunning view. Satu sees a windmill in the distance, and Xena says that it can be transformed into a battery to use it against any invading dragons. So, they head there to see it and, on the way, stop by the Paleon Temple, where they see the portrait of the hero battling the demon lord with his holy sword. Apparently, the sword glows blue when it is held by the hero or someone truly worthy. Subtle foreshadowing, I see. The temple's priestess Orna, who serves goddess Paleon, comes there overhearing the duo's conversation and jokes about Xena getting some romantic interests in her life. After their interaction, Xena arranges for a horse carriage to go to the next destination, the windmill. And in the meantime, Satu keeps thinking about the hero of this world and wonders if he himself has any titles. As he opens up his status menu, he is shocked to find titles like God Killer and Dragon Killer listed under his profile. His surprise grows as he checks the game log and realizes that he earned these titles by defeating the dragon gods Godok and Kagwa back in the Valley of Dragons when he tested out his meteor rain spell. Realizing that he is technically equipped with illegal hacks in this world, Satu starts to feel a bit guilty, deciding to put a stop to using these cheat codes to avoid accidentally changing the course of the world. They soon arrive at the windmill, where Xena shares its history, noting its past struggles and the defensive enhancements made to protect it from further attacks. Xena also tells Satu about the Sava Empire, where heroes are summoned through a sacred ceremony, and warns him that some type of powerful demon lord can control demons. Speaking of demons, as they ride through the streets, they encounter a man telling a group of people to punish demi-humans as they are as evil as demons. Xena recognizes the man as Zykuan's head priest, who is in the middle of stirring up hatred in the townsfolk, encouraging them to throw divine rocks at some innocent and terrified demi-human children. Being the only intelligent person who doesn't lack empathy, Xena quickly steps in, casting a protective spell to shield the demi-human children. Meanwhile, Satu uses his system menu and uncovers that this entire commotion is a scheme made by the Sewer Guild to agitate the citizens and spark disorder. So he uses his assassination skill to knock out the perpetrators hiding amongst the crowd. In the meantime, Xena and one of her fellow priests from the Galrian Temple protest Zykuan's head priest's actions, telling him to stop manipulating the citizens. Satu finds the owner of the slaves and exposes him to the crowd, telling them that this man gave the priest his slaves so that the priest can manipulate the people into giving him their money in exchange for some stones to hit the children with. He urges the crowd to take action against the slave owner and the priest, telling them that the man is pure evil. That literally turns out to be the case as the man reveals his true demonic form, transforming into a terrifying, four-winged, one-eyed demon. The demon kills the corrupted priest in an instant, causing everyone to run away from the place. Satu jumps in to protect the demi-human children and tells them to run away with him. The slaves were ordered by their owner to not move from their place, and they have to abide by their owner's orders even if their owner is dead. Otherwise, their collars will tighten and torment them. Xena comes back with reinforcements, so the one-eyed demon takes action and casts a powerful wide area spell, teleporting everyone in the magic circle to a dark labyrinth. The voice of the demon welcomes everyone to the labyrinth, telling them that it is his master's lair, and if they want to escape, they must find the exit. The demon is only doing this because it is bored and wants to make the humans feel dread and despair, as it would please him. Satu ignores the annoying voice of the demon and looks around, realizing the 3 demi-human girls he had just saved are with him as well. He introduces himself to them and learns that they have no callable names, so he gives each of them new names: Lisa the lizard girl, Tama the cat girl, and Pochi the dog girl. He then provides them with fresh pairs of clothes, medicines, and food, which they accept gratefully. While they are eating, Satu uses the enemy detection map and learns that the on-eye demon isn't even in this labyrinth. In any case, he maps out the entire labyrinth and pinpoints Xena's location, who is on one of the upper floors. Satu moves forward alone to look for an exit, and the 3 girls cling onto him, afraid of being left behind. They beg him to take them with him, calling him their new master, and promise him that they will do anything for him. Anything. Satu wonders how he is going to make use of these 3 useless girls and gives Lisa a dagger, as she looks like the only person fit for combat. Being a cat, Tama has good eyesight, so Satu gives her the task of looking out for enemies. And since Pochi, the dog girl, has good hearing and smelling skills, he assigns her that role in the team. As they walk through the labyrinth, Tama and Pochi detect an enemy in the distance, which reveals itself to be a giant bug monster. Satu brings out a gun from his inventory and effortlessly shoots down the bug, leaving his new slaves awestruck. According to Satu, every player gets equipped with this gun when they are sent to this game, but since the NPCs have no clue about this weapon, he goes with the lie, telling the girls that it's a specialized magical weapon. After disassembling the bug, Lisa extracts the monster core that sells for a big price and gives it to Satu. Satu gives Lisa a new spear he just made, so Lisa gives her dagger to Tama. Now that they are working as a team, Satu breaks their slave chains and heads onwards to hunt down more monsters. Satu, knowing how critical leveling up is, makes sure Liza, Pochi, and Tama get hands-on experience fighting the monsters they encounter. It's a great chance for the girls to gain experience since they are all under level 5. The group ventures deeper into the labyrinth and hunts down caterpillar-looking monsters together. Pochi's role in the team is to act as the bait, leading the monster towards her while Satu eliminates it from behind. They take down many monsters along the way and collect their magic cores for profit. After an hour of grinding XP, Liza levels up to level 6, and both Tama and Pochi level up to level 5. They also unlock some skills by leveling up, but none of them are significant enough to mention. While they are in the middle of extracting the magic core of a caterpillar, Liza suddenly runs out of stamina, so Satu decides to take a break. He feeds them some beef jerky, and they gulp it all down at once like animals, as if they have never eaten meat before. After having their meal, all 3 girls take a much-needed nap while Satu stays awake for guard duty. Afterward, they continue their exploration and hunt down a bunch of giant rats by trapping them inside a magic spell. In the labyrinth, they come across an abandoned house containing many magic scrolls, which Satu uses to learn new skills. They hunt down a frog and cook it for dinner. Skipping through that nasty part, the group encounters a slime, and Satu uses a spell he learned from the magic scrolls, Fire Shot, on it. However, it deals no damage because his spell is still at the base level. Liza steps up to help, using her spear to pierce through the slime's core, defeating it. While inspecting the slime's melted corpse, Tama notices a suspicious-looking wall, and Satu quickly deduces that it's a hidden door leading to a trap. Out of nowhere, a level 40 wolf monster leaps out in ambush, and Satu reacts in a flash, tossing the creature at the hidden door, triggering the pitfall trap. Crisis averted, the group continues on their way and comes across a hallway filled with human-sized web cocoons. Satu analyzes the cocoons and discovers that people are trapped inside. They rescue the humans, including one named Jin Belton, the head of the Belton Viscounts, who thanks Satu for saving his life and promises a reward once he escapes. Another captive, Nidoran, a slave trader, also thanks Satu. However, the third captive, before being freed, treats Pochi with disrespect. Satu recalls that this man had bullied demi-humans at the marketplace, so he refuses to help him, telling him to find his own way out. As Satu walks away with the girls, Jin Belton rescues the man himself. A few minutes later, the group stumbles upon soldiers battling a wave of slimes. Satu jumps in to help, instructing the Beast Girls to lure the slimes away so he can handle them. The arrogant man, overestimating his abilities, nearly gets himself killed. But the Beast Girls save him, making him realize that demi-humans aren't as bad as he thought. Satu finds Xena trapped against a wall and, of course, saves her first since she is his top priority. Just as they are about to have a romantic moment, Orna interrupts, reminding them to deal with the slimes first. Satu, using his impressive skills, helps the soldiers wipe out the remaining slimes. Afterward, Orna heals everyone using her holy magic, and Satu introduces the three Beast Girls to Xena, explaining that they kept him safe. Pochi and Tama reluctantly introduce themselves to Xena, revealing their shyness around humans. Liza, on the other hand, kneels before Xena out of respect and gratitude for saving her and her sisters from being stoned earlier by townspeople. While the soldiers attempt to break down the door to the next room, Tama notices another suspicious wall. Satu deduces it to be another hidden door. Meanwhile, a soldier opens a suspicious-looking chest, unaware of the dangers of random treasure chests, revealing the one-eyed demon who trapped them originally. The demon unleashes a savage attack, casting hallucination spells that send the soldiers and Beast Girls into disarray. With his plot armor and cheat skills, Satu resists the spell's effects. The Viscount attempts to counter with mid-level fire magic, but it proves ineffective. Satu avoids stepping up to avoid standing out. Instead, he distracts the others by deliberately getting taken away by an approaching monster, which he defeats using a holy sword he obtained earlier from the lizardman's loot. Disguised with a mask and cloak purchased with Martha, Satu reappears and overpowers the demon by throwing rocks at it. Realizing defeat is near, the demon summons its master, a godlike demon lord from the Demon King's inner circle. Despite being a level 62 demon lord, it poses no real threat to level 300 Satu. Unaware of Satu's true strength, the others fall into despair. The demon lord devours the one-eyed demon and unleashes a devastating wind magic blast, scattering everyone. Satu ensures everyone's safety and faces the demon lord with his holy sword. The demon lord sneers, mocking Satu's lack of the hero title. But Satu doesn't care. He lets the demon lord attack first, taking no damage due to his maxed out defensive stats. Realizing he cannot unleash the full potential of the holy sword, Satu switches to a mystical staff and unleashes high-level fire magic, unsettling the demon lord. Satu remembers his god killer title, which makes him worthy of defeating gods despite lacking the hero title. Seizing the moment, Satu closes in and dispatches the demon lord with a katana, ending the battle in a swift strike. This victory earns him the titles of Demon Slayer, Labyrinth Conqueror, and One Who Dances with Demons. At sunrise, Satu reunites with the three Beast Girls and Xena outside the labyrinth, pretending he wasn't present during the Demon Lord fight. As he embraces Xena, he reveals that he has acquired the hero title for saving everyone in the labyrinth. Being a merchant with demi-human companions creates complications, so Satu officially makes Liza, Pochi, and Tama his slaves at a slave trader. The trader, suspecting Satu's interest in young girls, offers two more slaves, Lulu and her younger sister Arisa. If memory serves, Arisa is the girl with the witch and crazy princess titles. Arisa emerges with a knowing smile, correctly pronouncing Satu's name, leaving him suspicious of her. To confirm his suspicions, Satu whispers something in Lulu's ear, but she doesn't react. However, when he whispers the same words to Arisa, she becomes disgusted and starts screaming, saying she hates spiders. Having confirmed his suspicions, he takes both Lulu and Arisa as his slaves, adding two more underage girls to this middle-aged man's harem. But seriously though, anime writers should get therapy ASAP. Satu reveals to us that he told Arisa that she had a spider in her hair in Japanese, a language the people in this world don't understand, which naturally means she too is an otherworldly being like him. The slaves introduce themselves to each other, and then Satu takes them to grab some dinner before going home. After treating them to a delicious meal, Satu equips his slaves with proper clothing and then takes them back to the hotel. Very conveniently, the entire hotel is booked up, so he's left with no choice but to share his hotel room with 5 girls on a single bed. Thankfully, Arisa has some common sense, although her actions are malicious, and she uses a manipulation spell to make Martha's mom let them stay at the stable for the night. So, ultimately, the 3 Beast Girl sisters, Liza, Pochi, and Tama, stay at the stable while Lulu and Arisa share the same room. The sisters, Arisa and Lulu, naturally try to please their master by showing him their sacred plot. However, since this isn't a chicken thigh series, Satu acts differently and makes his intentions clear, reassuring them that he has no desire to take advantage of them. Later that night, Satu is woken up by Arisa, who is sitting on top of him for obvious reasons. She almost entices him into sleeping with her using her lust psychic magic, but Satu breaks free and uses his master's authority on her to forbid her from using any magic or skills on him ever again. He orders her to reveal her intentions using his master's authority skill, and she admits that she only wanted to give him some service. He doesn't understand what she means by offering service, so she explains, saying that she only did so because she had fallen for this baby-faced, ugly loser. Arisa goes on a long speech about how much she has longed to marry a beta male like Satu, and now that her dream has partially come true, she wishes to make Satu want her. When he went to sleep earlier, she was overcome with lust, which is why she used her psychic magic to brainwash him into loving her back. Satu finally understands everything and pinches Arisa's cheeks as punishment for her actions. However, he still doesn't understand her character and asks her who she really is. Arisa reveals that she was a former Japanese woman who got reincarnated in this world with her memories intact. Arisa initially thought that Satu was reincarnated too, but since his appearance is still too Japanese, she assumes that he was summoned here as a hero instead. Satu doesn't think he was summoned because he didn't meet the god of this world before being transported here. He doesn't want to tell Arisa that he is one of the developers of this game, so he changes the topic and asks her how she ended up becoming a slave. After she tells him her sad story, which has yet to be disclosed to us, he goes to sleep. The next morning, Martha and Xena come to see their love interest and are left completely heartbroken upon seeing the state Arisa and Lulu are in. Xena especially misinterprets the situation and bursts out of the room crying. Arisa wakes up and tells Satu to go after Xena before things get complicated. Satu doesn't care because he only sees Xena as his friend, but he still makes the effort and catches up to Xena, telling her that she's got the wrong idea. He dances with her to make it up to her and offers her a bunch of praise to smooth things over. With everything cleared up, Satu recalls what Arisa told him the previous night. Apparently, Arisa was reincarnated as a princess, so she tried to make her country wealthy by using her otherworld knowledge, but that mysteriously failed, and the neighboring country took over her lands. The new king executed the entire royal family except for the women, forcing them into slavery. Then one day, a demon appeared out of nowhere and destroyed the royal capital. Amidst the chaos, Arisa and Lulu escaped to the forest when the slave trader Nidoran captured them and sold them to Satu. Feeling sorry for Arisa, Satu comes up with a plan to lighten the mood and gives the girls a big pouch of money, telling them to go out for the day and do as much shopping as they need. Shortly after the girls leave, Satu tells Xena that he has been thinking of asking some odd job people to find a place where Liza, Pochi, and Tama can stay, as he cannot let them stay in the stable forever. Xena tags along with him, and they head to the odd job house where they meet Nadi, a level 9 housekeeper. After greeting them, Nadi asks what they're looking for, and Satu explains that he needs to find some lodging or a property for rent. Nadi shows him some available places in West Town, but warns them about the area's high crime rate. Satu cares more about safety than budget, so Nadi shows him a few more options and picks a house she believes suits Satu's needs. It's a decent-looking house with a huge yard in front, but it has been vacant since the time its previous owner was assassinated by a member of the crime guild. Satu, who has clearly failed to make this lady understand that his top priority is his friend's safety, looks at other options, but even after hours of searching, none of the properties fit his preferences. So he and Xena take a break, deciding to drop by again in the evening. In the meantime, he takes Xena to a popular flea market that has recently opened in the plaza, where they run into Arisa, Liza, Pochi, and Tama. Satu notices Arisa has changed her hair color, and Arisa explains she only dyed it because purple hair is seen as a bad sign. Xena becomes upset as she thought this would be a date between her and Satu only, but she doesn't complain. To give Xena special treatment, Satu buys her an earring, but the other girls don't let them have their moment and make Satu buy a pair for them as well. Together, they head to watch a play that is being held at the outdoor stage. The play turns out to be a boring romantic story that bores Pochi and Tama. Satu continues watching, as he likes to finish what he starts. After watching the play, the girls engage in a heated conversation about it when suddenly Arisa accuses Xena of joining the military to avoid getting engaged, suggesting that she joined as a way to escape the household duties of a housewife. Arisa furthermore criticizes Xena, saying that her love is not real, leaving her speechless. Satu steps in, scolding Arisa for going overboard and telling her to apologize to Xena immediately. To lighten the mood, he buys everyone meat skewers. Later that day, as Satu and Xena are heading back to the odd job house, they run into 3 of Xena's fellow soldiers returning from a battle. The 3 knights explain that they were fighting a group of rats who came to this land illegally. Xena uses her healing magic to treat the injured soldiers and decides to head off to treat the other soldiers as well. But as soon as she is about to leave, Pochi and Tama show up with the corpse of a giant flying ant. Learning that a swarm of flying ants is approaching the city from the skies, Satu orders his group to prepare for the incoming threat. Although the ants are pretty weak, they are still capable of hurting civilians due to their large numbers, so Satu instructs the girls to deal with them immediately. The soldiers, alongside the girls, effortlessly take down the ants one after another, and those who pass through are sneakily eliminated by Satu himself. He organizes everyone according to their skills, and the soldiers join in the fight. With everyone working together, Satu is relieved and leaves it to the others to deal with the situation. He detects that an ant has infiltrated Nadi's building, so he rushes over, defeats the ant, and finds Nadi trapped in the basement. Nadi's building manager, Yusa, an elf man, uses his vine magic to rescue her. Nadi thanks both Satu and Yusa, giving each of them a kiss on the cheek in gratitude. As this is not the best time, Satu leaves the building, deciding to discuss the housing issue later. The ant invasion has already been dealt with, and the corpses are burned to ashes by the soldiers. Today was Xena's day off, so Satu calls it a shame that she still has to do so much work. A soldier tries to take all of the monster loot from Liza, saying it's government property, but Satu, the sly merchant, beats the soldier at his own game and makes him sign a written document to ensure that he doesn't steal anything for himself. Later at night, the group enjoys a nice dinner prepared especially by Martha's mom as a thank you for saving the town. Sato heads out later that night for a peaceful walk in the town when suddenly a black feather appears before him. Learning that this is a shadow owl's feather, Sato uses his presence detection skill and detects several shadow stalkers nearby. All of the shadow stalkers attack Satu at once, but he manages to evade the attack and finds the person they were targeting. The injured person begs Satu to save the girl beside him, and when Satu takes a look at her, he brings both of them to Nadi's building to see Yusa. Nadi recognizes the man as the famous Rat Man Knight, but Yusa doesn't understand why Satu wanted to see him specifically. That's when Satu reveals that the girl the Rat Knight was protecting is the elf princess Mia. The princess regains consciousness for a second. As she catches a glimpse of Satu, she crushes on him so hard that she falls asleep again. The Rat Knight starts coughing up blood, so Nadi rushes out to get a good healer to treat his wounds. Since it's too dangerous to go out at night, Satu goes along with Nadi, demonstrating his gentlemanly nature. The following morning, Arisa starts spouting nonsense that would leave any sane person with permanent brain damage. So Satu ignores her completely and heads to Nadi's odd job store to get updates on the situation. According to Nadi, Mia isn't injured. However, she needs to rest as the poor thing is on the brink of exhaustion. According to Yusa, Mia is exhibiting constant symptoms of prolonged MP deprivation. To treat her, Yusa tried multiple forms of magic, but none of them worked. Satu looks at her status board to get clues about her condition and learns that she is 130 years old, which, in elven years, makes her a child strictly based on anime logic. Anyway, the status board shows that Mia's MP is recovering gradually and she is neither cursed nor sick. So Satu doesn't think there's anything to be worried about and they will just have to give her some time to recover. If they want to speed things up, Nadi suggests that they buy a magic potion, but tonics like that are very expensive. So the other alternative would be to take Mia to a place enriched with magic, like a ley line intersection or a mana source. There's one at the Valley of Dragons, and since Satu has annihilated all of the dragons there, it would be a safe place to take Mia. But the others don't know that, and still consider the Valley of Dragons to be a highly dangerous place, so that's not an option for him. Thankfully for them, they don't need to do any of it as Mia wakes up moments later. She meets with Satu and asks him out of nowhere if he is a spirit user. Satu, who has personally never encountered a spirit, asks Mia about them. Mia, who can see spirits, describes them as fluffy and sparkly beings, which doesn't pique Satu's interest much. So he changes the topic and asks Mia to say something in the Elvish language. She does so accordingly, and the cheat-based system bestows the protagonist with another convenient skill, allowing him to learn the Elvish language just like that. After looking after Mia for a while, Satu gets up to leave as he's got other things to do with his life. But Mia doesn't let him go, telling him to stay beside her for a little longer. So Satu stays for some more time and then goes back to the inn, where he finds Pochi and Tama learning their language using picture cards. But they aren't very good at it as their instructor, Arisa, is a bad teacher. Having the cheat skill to do anything and be anything, Satu turns himself into a teacher and gives all of them a proper education. During lunch, Satu informs everyone about the elven princess he met the earlier night and proposes that they all go and say hello to her. With all of the girls in, they visit Mia, who acts shy at first. But since all of them are at the same age, they get along quite well. Satu goes downstairs to have tea with Nadi, who mentions how Satu never acts like a merchant, even though he claims to be one. Satu goes again with the same fake story he's been spouting for years, that all of his stuff got destroyed because of the starfall. Nadi believes his story and, to help him out, recommends that he buys a drawn cart from one of Yusa's old acquaintances, who was a former merchant. Satu refuses as he has no driving experience, but Lulu comes to save the day, reluctantly saying that she has driven a one-horse wagon before. So, Satu changes his decision and purchases one. A few days later, the group heads out into the wilderness on a camping trip, and Arisa is back in her purple hair. Perhaps because no one is going to see her now, they set up a camp and everyone works together to cook their lunch. Arisa gives Pochi and Tama a science lesson as well, teaching them the process of how water evaporates, making the girls believe that Arisa is a genius. The next day, Nadi hands Satu his new cart, and Arisa, back in her blonde hair, comes up with an idea to use the cart to escort Mia back to her home. Mia is from an elf village, which is to the southeast of the Shiga Kingdom, and it will take a couple of days to reach there. But before getting to a decision, Satu will have to talk to Yusa first. And besides, he will need to learn how to drive this thing first. Lulu, who's still uneasy around Satu, teaches him the basics, but she too opens up to him eventually once they start talking about Arisa. Not long after, Satu masters the craft of riding a two-horse wagon and takes the driving wheel when suddenly a malicious being inside another carriage passes them by, catching Satu's attention. A black owl follows the carriage, and recalling that he found a black owl's feather before the shadow monster showed up, Satu wonders what's up. In any case, he and Lulu return to the city and meet Mia, who is out in the town as she is now feeling better than ever. To celebrate Mia's quick recovery, Satu offers to treat her to something delicious, and she only asks for some honey buns. So, Satu sends Liza and Lulu to buy the honey buns for everyone when he senses the same eerie feeling from before. It's the black owl again, and it's as if its crimson eyes are spying on him specifically. He decides to let the events unfold themselves for now, and heads inside Nadi's apartment to meet the rat knight Mise, who has regained consciousness. From Mise, Satu learns that Mia was kidnapped by a band of wizards from her elf village, was then imprisoned in a place called the Cradle. Luckily, she was able to escape and, on the run, she came across Mise and his team, who helped her get away from the Cradle and tried to head to Siryu City together, hoping to get Yusa's help. The wizards who kidnapped Mia were furious and sent the flying ants to attack the city. But all of their plans failed because of one man, and I'm betting that's why the Black Owl is keeping a keen eye on Satu. Anyway, it seems Yusa has some idea about why the wizards captured Mia, but he doesn't share it with Satu. So Satu leaves him be and heads downstairs when a terrifying thunderstorm hits the city. The thunderstorm is likely caused by the Black Owl, and Tomo is the first one to notice its presence. Satu takes a look at the owl and watches it transform into a dark wizard who uses psychic magic to penetrate everyone's mind. The overwhelming power of the dark wizard almost devours everyone, but the other psychic magic user, Arisa, protects her friends. Thanks to her, Satu gets the time to turn on his resistance skill, and as he becomes immune to the dark wizard's magic, he looks up his stats, discovering that the villain is a level 41 wizard named Zen with the title Undead King. Confidently, Satu steps up and introduces himself to Zen as a merchant who isn't looking for trouble. But Zen believes otherwise, calling Satu the descendant of the hero and telling him to get away from Mia if he wants to live. However, Satu isn't the type of person to allow a villain to hurt a stranger, let alone his friend Mia. So, he politely asks Zen to leave their building at first, and when Zen doesn't listen, he attacks him using a martial arts technique. Zen, however, isn't affected by physical attacks, but still is left impressed by Satu's quick movements, asking him if he is truly a merchant or not. Zen manages to capture Satu by taking control over the shadows, and Arisa launches an attack at him, revealing his true identity as an undead king. Satu breaks free and breaks Zen's shadow whip with his magic fist. This surprises Zen as nothing in this world should be able to interact with his shadow whip except for a magic item. Mia, on the other hand, gets filled with guilt for putting so many people in danger for her sake, so she decides to go with Zen, sacrificing herself for her friends' lives. However, Satu isn't going to allow that to happen. He sees that Arisa is preparing some special magic secretly, so he tries to buy her some time by asking Zen questions like who he is and what his purpose is. Having bought enough time, Satu jumps out of the way and Arisa unleashes her combo attack spell on Zen, but unfortunately, she deals little to no damage at all. After the attack, Zen praises her for having a unique skill and realizes from her purple hair color that she was reincarnated. Regardless, Zen uses his shadow whip to pick Mia up and enters through a portal in the ground, telling Satu to learn to defy the laws of nature itself before trying to come and pick a fight with him. Satu tells Liza and Lulu to treat the others and to find Xena, or an ex-priest to heal everyone. Meanwhile, he follows Zen into the portal to rescue Mia and finds himself drowning at the bottom of a dark sea. As his stamina and energy start draining out, Satu realizes that time is now his biggest enemy. So he begins looking for Mia and checks the map, but it's of no use. Having no idea what to do, Satu channels his inner Neo from the Matrix and teleports straight to Zen's palace where Mia is. Zen calls Satu a cheater for reaching this room even though he hasn't passed through the trials in the cradle like the hero did. In any case, as long as Zen bears the god's blessing, he can never die, so he isn't worried much. Satu too isn't that much interested in fighting the undead king as his only goal is to get Mia out of this place at once. Zen transports Satu back to a place called the Cradle, telling him to pass the trials before even thinking of coming to the room again. This time, Satu agrees to play by the rules, because, frick, consistency. He passes through a rugged bridge covered in ice, and then comes across a large door with elven instructions, realizing it leads to the elves' training grounds. Ready to face the challenges ahead, Satu heads inside. With tons of cheat skills, Satu easily sneaks past them and reaches the floor where the dryads live. The lazy dryad doesn't want to fight Satu, but wants to drain him dry. He lets her have her way with him, and in return, she opens the doorway to the next floor of the cradle. This is a hidden floor, the laboratory of a being named Trazayuya, who is the creator of the cradle. From Trazayuya's old notes, Satu learns that this place was originally created as a safe haven for the elves, but the cradle apparently turned out to be a failure, so Trazayuya decided to seal it away until an elf required it again. These notes make Satu realize that Trazayuya is of the same lineage as Mia and Yusa, and perhaps this is why the undead wizard brought her back here. After exploring the laboratory, Satu persuades the dryad into sending him to the highest floor she can, and he goes to the 100th floor, which is the Guardian Knight's chamber. The Guardian Knight and his 3 identical-looking female friends are caught off guard by Satu's sudden appearance, and are rather disturbed as well since they were in the middle of playing Jenga in peace. The 3 women, who are of the homunculus race, equip themselves with armor before preparing to fight Satu. Satu tries the classic trick of, "I'm just a poor merchant who ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time," but it doesn't work, and the Iron Golem prepares to attack Satu. Satu, having good game knowledge, figures out the golem's weak spot and takes it out with one shot from his gun. The 3 women attack Satu at once, considering him dangerous, but he outmaneuvers them all and knocks them out unconscious. He then heads to the next floor, which looks like another Dryad's house, but this Dryad looks dead as can be. Satu mourns for her and offers her corpse some water, revitalizing her. The Dryad claims to be the same Dryad from the floor below, so Satu skips past the formalities and asks her to transport him to the highest floor she can. The Dryad sends him to the 180th floor, where Satu encounters a swarm of bug monsters. He accidentally uses too much power and ends up breaking a wall, revealing a beautiful view of the outside world. But since it's no time for sightseeing, Satu keeps venturing and eventually reaches the top floor of the cradle, where he finds Mia sitting on the throne and the undead king standing beside her. Satu once again demands that the undead king return Mia, but the undead king refuses without a fight. He believes that Satu wouldn't even be able to harm him, assuming he doesn't have the hero title. So instead, the undead king summons 6 out of the 7 homunculi, challenging Satu to defeat them first to earn the hero title. Facing so many enemies at once, Satu can't afford to waste his stamina. In no time, he figures out their attack patterns and becomes almost invincible against them. He takes a moment to ask the homunculi why they are fighting to the death for a master who treats them like mere pawns. The homunculi tell Satu that he is wrong, and that they are not the pawns, but he is. With great determination, they destroy Satu's weapon, but that is not enough to win against a cheat skill user. As he defeats the last homunculi, she begs Satu to make her master's wish come true. Satu makes his way to the undead king, Zen, who finally considers him worthy enough to be a hero, and rewards him with an ancient holy sword for defeating his underlings. Satu cuts to the chase and asks the undead king what his true wish is. The undead king, in response, tells Satu that he just wants to die, and because he is immortal, only a hero can take his life. The undead king recounts his tragic past life, a life that was filled with so much unjust brutality that God reincarnated him as an infant. Zen was reborn in a high-class noble family, and his life was going so well that he became foolish enough to think that his new life would meet a better end. However, things turned out differently when an evil noble fell for his beautiful wife, imprisoned him, and executed him on false pretenses so that he could have his woman all for himself. But the wicked noble wasn't happy with a used object, so he took her life as well, along with the entire family line of Zen. Zen, who was filled with hatred and vengeance, was granted the divine vision of the gods. This ability allowed him to return to the living world as an undead king. As he returned to his castle, he found the desecrated bodies of his loved ones. Wanting revenge, he turned their remains into undead and exacted his revenge on the wicked noble. Alas, Zen's revenge came at a price. He was no longer allowed to enter the underworld where he could rejoin his wife, and the burden of immortality weighed heavily on him. Zen tried anything and everything but failed every time. So he believes that someone truly capable of wielding the holy sword will have the power to finish him off. With his story coming to an end, Zen begs Satu to end his suffering, and Satu gladly accepts his plea. Activating the holy sword's true power, he drives the blade into Zen's heart, ending his existence once and for all. As Zen crumbles to dust, the cradle goes into self-destruction mode. Satu quickly grabs Mia and takes her to where the 6 homunculi are. He instructs her to teleport away with them first, and then moves to the lower floors to get to the 7th homunculi. After finding the 7th homunculi, Satu carries her to the Dryad's place, begging her to teleport him away from this place. The Dryad demands some seeds and magic in exchange and makes him smooch her again. She then uses her teleportation magic on them, and they all get out of the cradle just in time before everything starts to explode. Suddenly, a tidal wave of salt erupts from the crumbling cradle, and Satu makes a run for it, leaving the dryad behind as she needs the tree to live. He recalls Arisa's lesson about water evaporation and uses the same theory to boil the water around him into steam, causing the tidal wave's pace to become slower. Ultimately, he survives and returns to his companions safely with the 7th homunculi. With tears of relief, Liza comes hugging him first, followed by Pochi and Tama. Arisa and Lulu also stand behind them with tears in their eyes, and Satu feels glad to be able to see their faces again. Seeing Arisa specifically, he recalls Zen's warning about her powers, who advised him to teach her to learn to control it. The harem girls cry because that's what they're supposed to do? Whatever. After calming his companions, Satu talks with Mia, who thanks him for saving her, and then with the 7 homunculi, who also thank him for saving them, even though they were supposed to be enemies. Feeling greatly in debt to Satu for fulfilling their master's final wish, they choose Satu as their new master and take an oath to obey his commands from now on. Satu gives them Zen's ring, which he left behind, and the homunculi take the ring to Zen's wife's grave, while one of them volunteers to remain at Satu's side in the meantime. As all 7 of them volunteer, they try to settle the matter with a game of rock, paper, scissors. What looks like a never-ending game ends with the most intelligent one left behind, the 7th homunculi. Satu can't just call them by their numbers, so he gives the 7th one the name Nana. Afterward, they make their way back to the city, and Mia bids farewell to the Rat Knight, choosing to stay with Satu as his companion. At the military station, Satu reports the details of the mission, manipulating the truth just enough to keep his true powers a secret. Xena rushes there and is relieved to see Satu alive. She embraces him with tears in her eyes. To help Xena calm down, Satu gives her the pair of earrings he bought for her a few days back. Right after, Satu gives Xena the sad news, telling her that they will have to part ways again, as he has accepted the job of transporting Mia back to her elf village, escorting Mia to her homeland, but promises to share the stories of his travels when he returns to the city. They make a pinky promise, and unwillingly, Xena lets Satu go. With the packing completed, Satu bids farewell to the friends he made in this city, and then leaves on a new adventure. Xena almost doesn't make it in time and rushes with her horse to give him a proper goodbye. She promises him that, discarding her noble life, she will join him as his companion when the next spring breaks. Satu feels bad having parted ways with Xena, but that's only for a moment though, because he has all the girls in the world who are enough to make him happy. Along the way, the group takes a break like they usually do, and Arisa stores their leftover meal inside a dimensional inventory that requires magic to place and retrieve items. Satu's storage, however, works completely differently, so he wonders why only he is getting special treatment. He also ponders why and how he was sent to this parallel world. They set off again on their long journey to Mia's home, venturing through many different lands such as meadows, mountains, and valleys. During one particular break, they come across a weird-looking stone structure, so Satu assigns the 2 kids, Pochi and Tama, with the job of investigating if the stones have any significance. Mia shows her talent for whistling using a leaf and teaches the rest of the group how to do it as well. In the meantime, Arisa, who forcefully tagged along with the kitty and the doggo, returns with a rather intriguing report. Instead of explaining it to Satu, she shows him the stones, which look like 3 Japanese stone torii gates that have fallen over on the ground. Arisa mentions that stone torii gates are normally placed in front of a shrine, which triggers a lost memory for Satu. A woman calling him by the name Ichiro, telling him to never forget that they will be together till the end of time. Seriously, another love interest? Isn't this the most generic isekai of all time? Anyway, more memories are triggered simultaneously, this time of a conversation between a 10-year-old Satu and the same girl, but younger. She tells him that reincarnation is real, so even if they die, they are bound to end up together in their next lives. Satu finally recalls that the shrine in his memories was near his grandpa's place, but he doesn't remember who this girl with weird colored hair is. This time, Satu sees an older version of the LGTV-haired woman performing the Kagura, a dance dedicated to a deity who fell in love with a human to summon divine intervention so they could stay together. Before Satu can figure out what these memories signify, Arisa snaps him out of his thoughts. Coming back to his senses, Satu takes a closer look at the gate and determines that it's a broken teleportation gate, but he doesn't have the time nor the need to fix it. So he heads back to the camp and eats pancakes with the girls for dinner. The next day, they are back on their journey, and Satu recalls that he now has all of Zen's mementos in his inventory. So, he brings out the Shadow Magic spellbook as a way to learn some new magic and pass the time while traveling. Like a true researcher, Satu starts analyzing the spells on the holographic menu and accidentally presses his hands against Nana's chest. The girls scold Satu for his inappropriate behavior, even though deep inside he blames Nana, murmuring that she was the one who pressed herself onto him. Anyway, the group encounters a carriage filled with rat men who helped Mia escape from her imprisonment. They acted as decoys and sacrificed themselves selflessly for Mia, so she is grateful to all of them and wholeheartedly thanks them upon their reunion. Soon after, the rat men leave on their separate journey, and Satu's group sets up another camp in the evening. After hunting a deer, Satu learns everyday magic with Mia's help, and later that night, he does the night watch while the girls sleep soundly. To pass the time, he experiments with his storage and concludes that he can store items that are up to 3 meters away. He also discovers that his storage keeps the items frozen in time, deciding to put this feature to good use. The next day, the rat men visit them again, and this time they have the rat knight with them. Together, they head to the grave of the fellow rat men who died trying to save Mia. Mia offers her prayers, and the entire area surrounding the grave tree illuminates with a bright light. Before leaving, the rat knight gives Satu a bell as a token of friendship. Satu heads to a tavern where the customers cause a huge commotion, slandering the waitress for getting the orders wrong. To maintain peace, Satu steps up and offers to treat everyone to a free drink, making the atmosphere cheerful again. After having a couple of drinks, Satu gets up to leave, but the waitress doesn't let him go without having a private game with her, letting him do unspeakable things to her for the rest of the night. The next morning, Satu reunites with the group and shamelessly tells them about his little one-night stand. Arisa is especially disgusted, calling him a total cheater for doing it with a random person when he has so many girls at his disposal. Satu doesn't respond and only thinks to himself that he did the right thing because ethically, he cannot lay a finger on any of them as he is technically their guardian. Jokes aside, they run into an arrogant man on a horse bullying a poor peasant. This is the same man who tried to con Liza into giving him all the monster loot after the ant exhibition. And since he is a government official, Satu doesn't act until the man leaves the area. Satu gives a magic healing potion to the peasant, who uses it to heal his fractures. Arisa mentions how expensive potions are and how quickly they can run out. So Satu decides to learn how to make potions, and after just 2 hours, he masters the transmutation technique and crafts a high-quality recovery potion. Later that night, he makes a magic item that does nothing but light up a circuit. Bro's so bored that he's just doing the most random things to pass the time. The next day, Satu heads to a nearby town called Nuki to buy materials for more potions. He buys some elixir from a local alchemy shop and, following a shady cloaked man, disguises himself as one to purchase illegal magic scrolls and add new skills to his infinitely long list. He explores a new forest area in the middle of the night, looking for trouble, and unintentionally passes through a charm barrier, realizing he isn't supposed to be there. The map indicates this is the Forest of Illusions, governed by a witch, who senses his presence and sends her underlings to his location. Guess what? More questionably, underage girls are the witch's underlings, and, as expected, are not great at using magic either. Well, at least the witch herself appears to be an older person, and she doesn't attack Satu, mistaking him for a Ratman emissary upon seeing the bell hanging on his belt. Instead, she takes him to her house as her prestigious guest. Satu shows interest in making potions, and the witch offers to teach him a special recipe in exchange for delivering a letter to a giant in this very forest. Satu happily sets off, and the witch bids him farewell by showing him an old, pure, and beautiful magic that illuminates the entire forest. The following night, Satu goes to a tavern to have a drink when he overhears two conspirators discussing a plan to take over the city. Before he can eavesdrop further using his keen hearing skill, Arisa arrives with Mia and Nana to drag this bad boy back home. The next morning, the witch's underling, Inelimana, is on her way to deliver a potion shipment to the viceroy of the city when she is suddenly chased by bandits. Satu and the gang try to save her, but her carriage crashes, destroying more than half of the potion bottles. With 120 vials still intact, Satu accompanies Inelimana to deliver them to the viceroy. However, the viceroy refuses to accept the trade, claiming the witch made a pact to deliver exactly 300 vials by sundown. It doesn't take long for Satu to realize that the viceroy himself orchestrated the bandit attack to sabotage the delivery and break the pact. Satu also recognizes the viceroy as one of the conspirators plotting to take over the city. Satu suspects the viceroy's plan is to eliminate the Forest of Illusions and build a new town by ousting the witch for breaking their contract. Not wanting to let this evil plot succeed, Satu bets he can deliver potions of much higher quality than the witches before sundown. The viceroy, underestimating the soft-looking merchant, accepts the challenge. As if things weren't problematic enough, Satu faces another issue. Even if he can make the potions in time, he doesn't have enough vials, as all of them have already been bought out, likely by the viceroy's men to ensure his victory. Satu needs 180 new vials within 3 hours and begs a friend he made at a tavern to lend him his forging station. While the girls struggle to even form the shape of the vials, Satu makes dozens of vials all by himself. There is the drying process, which takes 5 days, but Satu discovers a loophole by creating a new magic spell for Mia, and she uses it to instantly dry the vials. In no time, the group prepares all of the vials needed for the potion, and then proceeds to make the potions as well. And just before sundown, they get ready for the delivery. But it isn't going to be that easy, as the viceroy's left hand comes there with his goons and wrecks the entire place for crafting potions without permission. As they leave, Satu reveals that the vials the goons broke were mere decoys, and the ones he made are in his storage box. With the mission coming to a success, he brings the vials back to the viceroy, forcing the viceroy to admit defeat. As a desperate attempt to break the pact, the viceroy stalls for the end of sundown, but he fails as the witch brings the count of the city there, who fires him from his position for conspiring against his leader and banishes him from the territory. The viceroy, unable to take such humiliation, attacks the count in rage, but it doesn't affect him at all as he is on a whole other level. The count now considers the viceroy's action an act of treason and decides to cut off his head as punishment. But before he can make his judgment, Satu quickly intervenes and knocks out the viceroy and his lackeys, reminding the count that there are children present. So, the count withdraws his sword and also praises Satu for his quick reaction. Satu and the group have stayed long enough in this town and must continue their journey to Mia's elf village. So, they bid farewell to the witch and Ineli and thank the toolsmith for all his help. Ineli gives Satu a lantern as a parting gift, and the witch awards him the title Friend of the Witches, opening doors for him to have friendly relations with other witches. They continue traveling, and one particular morning, Satu wakes up to Nana trying to make him do something inappropriate. But that's just regular business around here. We then get to see what Xena is doing on the other side. She runs to her mates holding a letter she got from Satu, excitedly opens it in front of them, and reads it out loud. In the letter, Satu expresses how much he misses her, and how sad it makes him that he can't see her face anymore. His heartwarming words make Xena happy, and she proceeds to read the rest of the letter, where all of Satu's adventures until now are briefly written. Returning to Satu's perspective, he does some pretty degenerate stuff with his slave girls, but we're not going to talk about it. At night, he reads Pochi a bedtime story about 7 deities who descended from the heavens with the world tree to live with humans in peace. But there were 2 other gods. The 8th god was a dragon god who existed long before the 7. The dragon god, being kind of a sleepyhead, went into a long slumber, during which the whole world changed around him. The 9th god was a demon god, a fearful, selfish creature that fought with the other gods regularly. Being jealous of the other gods who were worshipped by humans, the demon god created his own creations, the demons, who would worship him alone. However, the demons tormented the other races, humans in particular. In despair, the humans called out to the goddess to bestow them with the power to fight the demons. The goddess heard their prayers and went to the strongest god, the dragon god, seeking his help. In exchange for some wine, the dragon god taught her one powerful magic spell, a divine spell to summon heroes and restore hope to the world. So, is Satu a hero who was summoned by the divine goddess? Will he reunite with Xena soon, or will his path take him somewhere else? That's it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you want the Season 2 recap of this anime, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.